So a quick primer on my car and the power system that will power the 100,000 watt amp. I have a 2015 Fiat 500e. The main traction battery is made with Samsung SDI cells. Each cell holds about 64 amp hours worth of charge. The battery voltage ranges from 3 volts to 4.2 volts with an average voltage of 3.8. 97 cells are tied in series to create the final traction battery. This means a battery will go down to 291 volts and all the way up to 407 volts, with the average voltage at right around 375 volts. Internally, the battery has a 350 amp circuit breaker built in addition to main connectors at the front of the battery that only turn on when the car needs it. Follow me on Instagram at @loudfiat to see the amp in action. Step 1 of the high voltage install will be to remove the current 12 volt system. Here I've got the 192 amp hours of headway, and then I've already removed 2 of the 3 12K amps. So the amp will be removed, most of the wiring, these batteries, and I have 2 runs coming from the front of the car. I'm going to use those for the 400 volt supply coming in from the front battery. So this is the first that'll be gutted, and I'll keep posting videos as I go through the install. So make sure you follow and you subscribe and you follow the hashtag I'm going to post on this video if you want to see the build go from 12 volt to the 400 volt 100,000 watt RMS sound digital amp. Step 1 is done. The batteries and the amps are out. These are the 2 main cables I'm going to use for positive and negative. They're 1/0 gauge. I'm going to upgrade the speaker cables to 1/0 as well. And I'm going to put the 100,000 watt amp down here on the bottom to minimize vibration. I'm going to put the circuit breaker, 1 up front and 1 back here for safety, so 2 circuit breakers. And I might also add another layer to this wall. Right now it's 2 layers thick, I might do 3 to handle the extra power. These are the 2 main lines going to the rear. As you can see, they're currently connected to the 12 volt battery. I'm going to be using those to connect them to the main high voltage battery. This is the cooler, and underneath it is the big inverter module. The main 400 volt battery goes through one of those orange wires over there into the inverter. Those are the 2 main lines. I'm going to tie into those right there at the bottom of the battery where they come up into a breaker, and then into 1 positive and 1 negative going back into there. So that's the main battery disconnect coming from the battery that I'm going to be tying into. There's a connector there that connects directly into the battery bank. There's the connector. And this is what it looks like outside of the car. Next up, I'm going to run a dedicated 12 volt line because those will be used for the high voltage. Alright, so I downgraded the lines for the 12 volts from 2 1/0 to a single 4 gauge. That's all I need for my mids and the accessories I have back there. So I yanked out the main lines. The 12 volt runs are done. Now I have a single 4 gauge coming in from the front right there, and the ground to a little distribution box going into the amp. It's going to go to the DSP that will be up there, and then I'm going to run dedicated 400 volt lines for the main sub amp, which will be right here next. I'm going to make 2 holes here for the 1/0 400 volt lines. They're going to come out in the wheel well right here, and I'm going to pair them up with the existing high voltage line that goes from the charging port to the onboard charger. So I'm just going to follow that. Hey Jack.
Yeah?
Are you helping Daddy work on the car?
Uh-huh.
Are you learning a lot?
And look, we did the wheel. It was like that, and we moved it like this.
So after taking off the protective plastic plate, this is what it looks like under the car. And that's the main battery connector I'm going to tie into.
So hey Dad.
Did you press record?
Uh-huh.
That's the 1/0 cable I'm running, and I'm adding extra plastic for protection. So the runs go through the trunk, out, they follow the charger line, under the car, and they're going to tie into a breaker and then to the output right there. With the plastic trim piece, can't even tell it's there. Like me, can't even tell. Disconnect the 12 volt, just like that. Next, remove the plastic cover to access the battery cable. With the cover off, it's time to disconnect the cable. Make sure to wear high voltage gloves, just to be safe. Once the cable is disconnected, give it 15 minutes for any residual energy to discharge from any of the capacitors in the system. I confirmed with the voltmeter that there was residual charge inside of the cable, so make sure you give it time or you drain any residual charge before you touch the cable. The negative is exposed. That's a tap. Just a negative for now. After a ton of liquid electrical tape, that's what the connector looks like. Not pretty, but safe. And then I've got the Anderson disconnect here. Now there's the negative. Positive another day. Final install. I had to add a connector for the shielding because the battery computer noticed that it was spliced. So I ran a small wire on top of the main connections. There we go. She's a beauty. Ugly, but a beauty. There's the main circuit breaker. It is, boys and girls. We have live current to the amp. There it is. There it is. Sound Digital's lit up. It's getting to voltage. You can see the Sound Digital sign is lit up. Yep. There it is, ladies and gents. First high voltage 100,000 watt amp and a Fiat 500e.